What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile. You all voted for it, and I am very happy to bring it to you. Here is Mutant. Now, this deck hasn't really gotten any direct support in the last, I want to say, maybe 2-3 years. However, in one of the most recent sets, we did get a card that is quite powerful for the archetype. If you have watched my yesterday's video, which was Quants, Super Quants, you would have seen this card in there. But I am going to be talking about Minimalian today. Now, this card does a lot for the archetype, as well as helps bridge a previous playstyle of the archetype being Mutant Thunder Dragon, and make it quite a bit stronger without having to rely so much on your normal summon. So, that's enough yapping about the overall deck profile. I'm not only going to be showing you this deck, but also a better version of this deck. However, that better version is going to be significantly pricier than this version. It's going to be a lot more competent, however, again, it's going to be pricier. So that's enough yapping. Let's get into the deck profile. Starting off with triple of the main man himself, Minimalian, allowing us to banish another card from our hand to special summon it from our hand. We can banish a face-up level 4 or lower monster we control to special summon a monster from our deck with the same original type and attribute as the monster we banished, except it's either 1 or 2 levels lower than the monster that we banished. We can banish itself, of course, in order to grab either a level 3 mutant or a level 2 mutant, so it basically allows us to play start all of our combos, and if we're banishing a card like a Thunder Dragon out of our hand, we're able to get even more advantage that way. So that is why we're on 3 Minimalian. Now let's cover our actual mutants, starting with our mini mutants, which are the little ones. We're on triple copies of Mutant MO5. On normal or special, we get to add a mutant monster from our deck to our hand except for itself, and all the other mutants are going to have this effect, the mini mutants, of course. We can tribute this card, banish a card from our hand, or face-up field to special summon a monster from our hand or deck based on the card type that we banished. If we banished a monster from our hand, we get to summon a mutant beast. Trap, we get to summon an arsenal, and then spell, we get to summon our mist. Those are all going to have different effects. Mist is by far the worst one. And arsenal and beast are very good. However, we are not playing the deck in a way that Mutant was playing before, where it was playing a lot of trap cards and playing more of a slow, grindier game. We are looking to get an advantage loop, of course, but we're not looking to really grind the game out. We're looking to kill our opponents. So we are only going to be playing the Mutant Beast for the monsters, since that's the main thing we want to be banishing off of our mutants, being, of course, the Thunder Dragons being the monsters we want to banish. So we're on triple copies of Mutant MO5. Of course, this is also a level 3 or lower Psychic, so it can be grabbed off of Emergency Teleport, so do keep that in mind. We're also on 1 copy of Mutant ST46 on normal or special. We can add a mutant spell or trap from our deck to our hand, and then it has that effect that Mutant MO5 had, where we're able to tribute it, banish a card, and then grab an appropriate card based on the card that we banished. And then lastly, for our mini mutants, we're on 1 copy of Mutant. This is a card that was legacy support for the archetype. This card reads, if we control a mutant card, we can special summon this card from our hand, so it's just a freebie extender. We can tribute this card, banish a mutant card from our hand or deck, special summon a monster from our hand or deck based on the card that we banished, but lose life points equal to that monster's original attack. So this is basically one of these mutants, except we don't have to actually banish a resource that we have access to. We can get one straight from deck and not have to worry about it. Since we're going to be grabbing Mutant all the time off of Mutant MO5 for the most part, we're basically always going to be in the position where we're able to just freebie special summon it and translate Mutant into a Mutant Beast, which is the next card we're going to be covering, completely free of charge. Speaking of Mutant Beast, here's Mutant Beast. This card cannot be special summoned except by the effect of a mutant card, so there's no cheating this guy out. Your opponent cannot target this card with monster effects, which is quite strong for cards like SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight. That's pretty much the main thing that's targeting monsters with monster effects. I guess Flamberge if people are still playing Snake Eye, but for the most part, it's SP Little Knight exactly. And you can only use each of the following effects of Mutant Beast once per turn. When your opponent activates a spell card or effect, quick effect to banish 1 card from our hand or field to negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, we can target one of our banished mutant traps and add it to our hand. Now, are we going to have mutant traps banished? Probably not. Is there a situation that we could make a mutant card get banished without playing Arsenal? Yeah, there is. We are playing Dimensional Shifter, so if we do Dimensional Shifter and then use our trap card being Mutant Cry during our opponent's turn, in theory it would get banished, so we would be able to add it back with the Mutant Beast if they did remove it. So that is the interaction there. Is that really going to happen in a game? Probably not, to be honest, but it is still something to keep in mind. Speaking of Mutant Cry, we're on 2 copies of Mutant Cry. During the main phase, we're allowed to fusion summon a mutant fusion monster from our extract by shuffling the fusion materials listed on it from the deck among cards in our field, graveyard, and face-up banished, and we can only use Mutant Cry once per turn. It's just a Necro fusion, except it uses banished cards, so it's more like a Bestial Lubellion, except just for the archetype, which is good enough, because they have an on-summon pop, which is perfectly fine for a fusion monster of its caliber. So we're on 2 copies of Mutant Cry. You could cut this down to 1 if you'd like. You are missing out on a little bit of recursion, but it's not a whole lot, to be completely honest. It's just here to make sure we have a target. If we have the SP46 and we already drew a Mutant Cry, it's just another card we can search with it to make sure we keep our value train going. But that's it for our mutants. Now let's cover our Thunder Dragons. We're on triple copies of Thunder Dragon Dark. While it's in hand, we can discard it in order to add another copy of itself from our deck to our hand. And if it's sent from the field to the graveyard or banished from the graveyard into the banishment, we're able to add a Thunder Dragon card from our deck to our hand, except for itself, but we can only use one of those effects per turn. So we do want to keep in mind when we are banishing it or sending it from field to graveyard, in order to get that search, we cannot be using the in-hand effect in that same turn. So it's kind of like a little bit of a setup card. We're also on triple copies of the OG Thunder Dragon, able to pitch it and adding up to 2 Thunder Dragons from deck to hand. Only adds itself, not any Thunder Dragon card, keep that in mind. However, that we are playing this just for the hand advantage. Since the mutants do eat up a lot of advantage from our hand by either banishing cards from our hand in order to summon Mutant Beast, or banishing a card with Minimalian, we're able to recoup that lost advantage by starting our turn with a Thunder Dragon, immediately going +1. This is also a Thunder monster effect that is activated in our hand, so we're able to summon Colossus shortly afterwards, even if we have to normal summon a Thunder Dragon that we added to our hand with a Thunder Dragon effect. It's not the worst thing in the world to end on a Colossus. And then for our other Thunder Dragons, we're on 1 Thunder Dragon Hawk. It has a mulligan effect that you're almost never going to use, but it also has the effect when it's in our hand, we can discard it to special summon a Thunder Dragon that's in our banishment or in our graveyard, which is perfectly fine because that sets up Colossus all by itself as long as we have the Thunder Dragon in banishment or in graveyard. And then lastly for our Thunder Dragons, we're on triple copies of Thunder Dragon Roar. We can pitch it to add a Thunder Dragon card that's banished or in our graveyard back to our hand, and if it's banished or sent from the field to the graveyard, we can special summon a Thunder Dragon monster from our deck in defense position but bounce it to our hand during the end phase. And we can only use 1 effect of those per turn, which is the same as our Thunder Dragon Hawk. This one is very strong because this, of course, is going to get us to our Thunder Dragon Dark, which we then are going to link off to add back our Hawk, and then we're going to keep going from there. But that's it for our monsters. Now let's cover our non-engine, starting with Triple E Telly, since it does fetch MO5, ST46, and Mutant if we would like. 1 copy of Pot of Prosperity, since the extra deck is not tight in this specific build. 1 copy of Gold Sark in order to banish our Thunder Dragon Roar. Triple copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, as well as 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talents for hand trap mitigation. And then for our own hand traps, we're on triple copies of Dimension Shifter, triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and triple Infinite Impermanence. We're on triple copies of Dimension Shifter specifically because this card is quite good in this format specifically because everyone is playing Bestials and Fiendsmith, as well as it kind of shuts off Ryziel a little bit because it basically doesn't allow them to use their Ext in order to send one from their extra deck to the graveyard. They can't Aggregator, they can't do their twins, they can't Fiendsmith. They're locked out of quite a bit, so they're forced to really rely on their engine for their game. But that's it for our main deck, a nice solid 40. Now let's cover our extra, which is very flexible. In our extra, we're on 1 Anima for our Mutant. 1 copy of Area, the Water Charmer Gentle. Mermail is actually doing stuff this format, so we are a water-based deck, so we are able to steal their monsters and use it for our own gain. 1 copy of Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy for use with our Thunder Dragon Dark in order to get it off our side of the field. Otherwise, we can use a card like IP Masquerena to do the same thing. We're on 2 copies of SP Little Knight just because we can. 1 copy of Moon at the Closed Heaven. This is in here, not for Fiendsmith, not yet, but for a Bao Aku, the Lightless Shadow, which is, we're just playing it because it's a generic fiend. Like, literally, that's the only reason. If you wanted to play something else, like there is Beat Cop from the Underworld, that's also a good option. The main reason I'm picking Moon of the Closed Heaven is because it will make people think that we are playing Fiendsmith, so they will hold their Bestials for that. We're also on, of course, the 1 copy of A Bao the Coup, Lightless Shadow, and then for XCs, Beast is an 8, so we actually can make rank 8s somewhat frequently since there isn't a once per turn on the summon. So if we can, mutant multiple times to just get the beast out and then get another beast out, we can make either Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord, which is a negation, or Dingirsy the Orcus of the Evening Star, which is a non-targeting, non-destruction removal, and it will also protect our board twice. We're also on one copy of Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis, which is just a really powerful card. For our other cards, we're also on 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Colossus for our Thunder Dragons. This is the reason why we are playing it. A Mistake on Legs is very strong, especially in a format where Fiendsmith is very relevant, when Bonfire is very relevant, so on and so forth. This card also kind of cleans Blue Eyes' clock. They can't activate their normal spell, they can't activate their Sage, they can't activate their Link one. It really does quite a number for that deck, as well as it has its own built-in protection where you're able to banish Thunder monsters from your graveyard if it would be destroyed by battle or card effect. And then for our mutant one, we're on 2 copies of Mutant Synthesis. It needs 2 mutants with different attributes, so we're never able to use 2 mini mutants. We have to use a mini mutant plus a big mutant, being Mutant Beast, in order to make Mutant Synthesis. So the idea is we set up Cry, we set up Beast. Whenever we do negate something with Beast, since it can banish itself to negate the card that your opponent's activating the spell, we just banish itself, and then we are going to be using our Mutant Cry to make Mutant Synthesis, which was of course going to shuffle those materials back in deck so we can get our Beast back later. And this card reads, if it's fusion summoned, we can target a card on field, pop it. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, activate the effect. For the rest of the turn, this face-up card is unaffected by the effects of opponent's cards of the same type, monster, spell, or trap as the card that they activated. If this fusion summon card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can add one of your banished mutant cards from back to your hand. And you can only use each effect of synthesis once per turn. So, translating it, on summon, it pops something. When your opponent activates something, it's going to become immune to the type of card they immediately activated. And then if it's removed by your opponent in a destruction manner, we're able to add back a banished mutant. Overall, quite a strong card. The protection actually comes up somewhat frequently, which is somewhat strange, to be completely honest, because it doesn't seem too hard to play around, but most people don't really use their full brain power when they see you're playing Mutant, so use that to your advantage for the time being. But that's it for this specific deck profile. This is the lower power deck. Now, for a brief moment, I am going to cover the higher power deck that I was working on, so let's go cover that now. I don't mean to interrupt the video, but I do just want to give you all guys a heads up. We are quickly rising in our subscriber number, and I did want to make you all aware that once we hit 2,000 subscribers, I am going to be doing another giveaway. Now, I remember I did one once we hit 500 subscribers, and we did a special thing for 1,000, so I want to do something special for 2,000. And you see this beautiful mat right here? Well, it can be yours. I have 2 extra mats. There's one of them, and let me get that second one for y'all. I have 2 extra pristine mats for you all. So I got multiple of these, and to 2 lucky winners, I'm going to be giving one to one person and one to another. And the person who wins the overall giveaway is also going to get a full Orcus deck. I can't guarantee it's going to be max rarity, but I'm going to see what I can do. And I'm going to try and make it look nice and pretty for you. It's not going to be the full deck. It's just going to be the core Orcus cards. But I want to be able to give you one of you all the ability to play one of my favorite decks. So just something I'm doing for you. You can always pop into our Discord. I believe that's where I'm going to be doing the giveaway. The Discord's always going to be in the description of my videos. I'm going to have a little bit more details once we start rolling up on that, but I just wanted to make you all aware of that. Now, back to the video. Alrighty, and now for the higher power build of Mutant, you will see that some of the ratios are a little bit different. We of course are on the same 3 Minimillion, 3 Mutant MO5, 1 ST46, 1 Mutant, and then 1 copy of Mutant Beast. We're not playing the second copy because it increases the chance that we draw it. The Mutants can summon Beast out of hand, so it's not the end of the world if we draw it. So why include the other one if its negation is a once per turn? We're also on 1 copy of Mutant Cry for the exact same reason. We're also on triple copies of Thunder Dragon Dark, triple of the OG Thunder, 1 copy of Hawk, and triple copies of Roar, just like the previous profile showed. But in this list, we are, of course, playing our good friend, the Fiendsmith. Now, what does the Fiendsmith bring to the table for this archetype? In our mainline combo, we ideally want to set up Mutant Beast plus the trap. But once we set up the trap, there's not really all too much we're doing with the 2 extra bodies that are on our side of the field. namely the Thunder Dragon Dark or our Mutant ST46. What we're able to do is turn our ST46 and Thunder Dragon Dark or Roar, whichever Thunder Dragon you have access to, into a Moon of the Closed Heaven, like was shown in the previous list, and just go into our full fiendsmith line to set up one more piece of interaction against our opponent. And it's not just one more piece of interaction, it's going to be a Desiree, a DDD Wave High King Caesar, and or a Lacrima ready to send the Desiree if we did not make it from our extract to the graveyard in order to remove a card our opponent controls. So for our Fiendsmith cards, we're on triple Engraver, 1 Lacrima, 1 Tract, 1 Lurie, and 1 copy of Fiendsmith in Paradise. For the rest of our non-engine cards, again, it's going to look very similar to the other list. 2 copies of E-Telly. We are, of course, on triple Minimalian, so we don't need as many copies of E-Telly as you would think. So the deck is fairly consistent, and we really want to be seeing the Thunder Dragons primarily, not the Mutants, since the Mutants are quite fetchable on their own. We're also on 1 copy of the Gold Sark, previously mentioned in the other list, triple copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, 1 Talents, triple Ash, and triple Imper. In the extra is where things are really going to become different. In the extra, we are on, of course, on 1 Anima, 1 SP. You will notice there is no IP anymore in this extra deck. We're mostly using SP during our own turn, because we can banish our Thunder Dragons from our graveyard with it. 1 copy of Dark the Dark Term of Gloomy, 1 copy of Moon of the Closed Heaven to go into Requiem, which can then go into Sequence, which can then go into Agnum Day, which can then go into an Abao Aku, the Lightless Shadow, 1 copy of Necroquip Princess, 1 Desiree, 1 DDD Wave Hiking Caesar, and for our fusions, we're on Double Colossus, only 1 copy of Synthesis, because we are, of course, only on the 1 trap, so we're only able to really summon it once, and 1 copy of Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis. Now, the idea behind adding Agnum Day and Abao Aku is that in our basic Fiendsmith combo, if we go for the Desiree line where we have Desiree and Sequence, we can make Agnum bring back Desiree, and then we can make Abao Aku the Lightless Shadow. Using those monsters, using Abao Aku, we can use the effect to pitch a card in order to bring back a light monster from our graveyard. Then we can bring back our Agnum Day, and during our opponent's turn, we're able to use the Agnum Day again in order to bring out our Fiendsmith Desiree, in order to turn that back on, plus end on a free Abao Aku, the Lightless Shadow. Sure, our Desiree isn't going to have targeting protection because Sequence will not be on it. However, we're ending on an extra body that's also a pop. So I think that's a pretty good trade-off. All in all, I think this other version of the deck that I am showing right now has a much higher ceiling and is a lot more powerful in the meta than the previous version is. However, if you just wanted to try the strategy out, I would recommend doing this list that you're seeing right here. This is a very good baseline for Mutant, at least how I think it can be played in 2025, and I'm very excited to see what you all can do with it. But that's going to be about the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to my 1 member. Thank you, Ari. If you want to become a member, stay tuned to the end of the video. If you want to see a specific deck, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can include it in our next poll. Next poll is going to be going up in a little bit, so hold on for that. But that's me at the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching, if you still are, and I'll be seeing you all later. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.